NZ Aerosports, Icarus Canopies, now Gyro. That's right, we've rebranded, and Gyro is our next generation. It honours our founder, as that's the name we knew him by, but Gyro also marks the start of a new chapter. And not to be biased, but it's going to be fucking epic. Long story short, we're more us than ever. So if you're new to the sport, or even a Sky God Ninja Turtle, welcome. I think our valiant leader Lucy, Gyro's daughter, says it best.
And we still got that fuck yeah attitude. Rebrand! Woo!
Rebrand woo indeed, Lucy. Anyway, head over to gyro.com for more info and get amongst you legends.
I was 19, broke, unemployed, and sold my girlfriend's canopy for drug money. So I thought I better sew her a new one. What a sentence, and what a story. This describes the humble yet outrageous beginnings of NZ Aerosports, the home of Icarus Canopies, in the words of our founder himself. From getting a paratrooper toy from his mom, watching parachutes at the DZ as a 6-year-old, jumping off the wharf with a parachute made from bed sheets, doing his first jump at 16, sewing his first canopy on a borrowed machine at 19, and starting to sell parachutes out of a garage in 1986, Paul Gyro Martin had an undying love for the sky. Our company started with one man with the wildest of spirits and a true blue sky dream, a renegade. In the time that Gyro created and ran the Icarus Canopies brand until he passed away in 2017, he pushed everything he had to its limits. We miss him, and we always will. Gyro is the next generation of NZ Aerosports. It honors our founder, of course, because it was the name we all knew him by, but Gyro the rebrand also marks the start of a new chapter, our next jump. Gyro is the space between sound and silence, art and science, chaos and calm. Gyro is a state of epic tranquility that transcends understanding. That moment, in the door, in free fall, mid-swoop, where nothing but the present exists. A perfect balance of euphoria and thrill. Gyro captures our passion for flying and our commitment to designing break-the-fucking-rules canopies that deliver pilots pure, wild flight. Hey gang, so I got a new book out. It's called The Upside of Fear, and it's exactly what you think it's about. It's about the good side of, well, getting scared. In it, we talk not only about the science and biology behind fear, but the psychology as well. And it's not just coming from me, it's coming from some of the best in the sport. Omar Alhigelan, Jeff Provenzano, Maxine Tate, and so many more have contributed their sometimes terrifying stories to the book to help you overcome your fear. So head to the lunaticfringepodcast.com. You're going to find the link to the book there, as well as the other books. It's available in ebook, paperback, hardback, and audiobook right now.
Coming straight from the cockpit, it's another episode of Lunatic Fringe with the fucking pilot.
Ready, set, go! Back in the can for another edition of the Lunatic Fringe podcast and another smiling face on the other end. Straight into it. Here we go. Who the fuck are you and what do you do?
I'm Even Rokne. I am a skydiver from Norway. I've been jumping since 88. I have 9,990 jumps. I was going to do my 10,000 on the Friday 13th. I tried to challenge Destiny, but Destiny failed.
Mother Nature wasn't cooperating?
No, weather became bad and I didn't get my last 10 jumps in.
Oh, fair enough. Well, you're in Norway right now, right? So the weather's it's on the chilly, snowy side, right?
Yeah, beautiful blue sky, light snowfall. And all the ski slopes have opened, so everything is good.
Nice. Yeah, the same here in Helsinki. It's nice and white outside and cold just how I like it after too many years in the desert.
Yeah. Except Norway, we have also the speed flying in addition to the thing what you can do in Finland. So.
Yeah, well, you guys have got a little bit more terrain than we have here. It's a bit on the flat side here in Helsinki.
Yeah.
So let's talk about how you got started, not necessarily just in skydiving, but in anything extreme. I mean, did you start out skiing and all that stuff as a kid?
I was active, I would say, in particularly running and skiing when I was growing up. Then I had a year in as exchange student in America, and I was the one in the family to take over like a 150-year-old hardware store. So that was kind of what my life was destined to be.
Oh, wow.
Then while waiting to go in the army, I was then working in the hardware store for some months, and I was just like, what the fuck? You can't you can't live like this. It was really strange because it was like some kind of a distress or calmness or something in the bottom of myself somewhere.
Sure.
And it was something like every day become repetitive. And even though a hardware store, if you go in any kind of store, it's maybe one of the most fun stores to be in because you always help people having a problem and so on. And no day is similar to the last day.
Sure.
But still, it became very, set. So when me and my friend just passed by a information poster about the skydiving course, we snuck into it and we didn't dare to tell our parents until after we paid the money. And then we said, tomorrow we will jump.
That's a good way to
That's
do
kind
it.
of how it started.
Well, now,
But then
so you're being handed the keys to a hardware store at what age?
No, I took over only when I was adult after my education, and I came back to our village.
But still pretty young. I mean, what, in your early 20s?
Yes.
Yeah, that's awfully early to have your whole map life mapped out for you inside the walls of a hardware store.
Yeah. But in the meantime, I was also working in the army, so I had like 10 years there.
Now, what'd you do in the army?
I was a captain. I was working with especially military leadership, and I would say the interpersonal relationships going on in group. Say how a group develops, how the interpersonal connections.
Boy,
build.
I bet that came into play later in life as a skydiver, huh?
Exactly.
So you go out and you book this first jump course with a friend of yours, and you wait to tell your folks until after it's all gone. But how did that first jump go?
I was scared shitless. I couldn't. I still can't remember the exit, but I do remember. You get the clear and go, and then my brain blocks out, and then I come to myself again after the canopy opens. It was static line, of course.
Yeah. And this was in Norway.
Yes. At the same time, I remember how confident I felt, let's say, regarding the emergency procedure. I still remember that. So even though I was blocked out, I was amazed on how the body was tuned in to handle this situation, which I was confident I would if I needed to.
Sure.
And it didn't take so many jumps before I did need to.
Really?
I have 29 reserve rides.
That's a few.
Yeah.
In less than 10,000 jumps, 29 reserve rides. Wow. I mean...
But remember the development going on in the canopies in I would say the mid-90s.
Sure.
Then I had like 10 reserve rides in 2 years or something.
Yeah, fair enough.
And I was a pretty light person. I was on national teams. I was very active, so I was very early on small new canopies, but they were still not fully developed. So all of these were just spin and twin.
Sure. Now, what was that very first one?
First one was an old Pegasus that just didn't open. In the old days, you were used to these long streamers.
Yep.
3, 4, 5 seconds or whatever. And this one just superseded that. So I think we came to maybe 8, 10 seconds and then didn't work anymore.
Oh, yeah, fair. Well, and especially if you're a lighter guy, you'd be used to riding out those openings that would be a little bit longer. So, yeah, I can imagine at 10 seconds, though, you're starting to look up going, all right, come on. So did you know when you landed, because that very first jump, you say you kind of just blocked everything out until you were under canopy. But when you were back on the ground, did you know that skydiving was for you, or was it I'm not sure what happened. Let's try it again and see.
I really can't remember quite that. If I think as everyone, you're just super stoked when you land.
Sure.
And I suppose that's also my thing. But what I do remember is my instructor on that information course before we started. He said something about, how your mind plays games with you. and also how most people quit before they really get to be a skydiver.
Sure.
So at that point, I remember I just was determined that no matter what, I'm at least gonna get my B license before I quit.
Nice.
And then I started in August. We only had a few jumps that autumn. And then next year, I remember coming back for spring boogie, starting up in spring. We were the smallest club in Norway in Voss at that time.
Mm.
And then I remember there was Easter day, and it was totally blue sky. And then far over there, you could see like a tiny little cloud over the horizon. And then I remember just feeling, oh, it's a bit cloudy today. It's not going to be any jumping. And then I just, at that moment, recognized that thing my instructor was talking about the year before. And that helped me then to motivate myself to get to the drop zone. And then I did a jump. And I think that was when I got really hooked.
That's fun funny that you registered it that way, because I mean, I think I've done something similar, and I know other people have as well, but that you recognized that an almost perfect day and one cloud, you were looking for an excuse not to go. That's pretty intuitive, really. I mean, that interpersonal stuff was playing out already.
Yes.
I mean, that's very intuitive of someone.
Yeah, very. And then I remember I had my jump number 100. And we had a big party at my house. My parents were gone. And I remember I was so stoked. I did my jump number 100, and my father comes, okay, isn't it now time? Now you've done it. Isn't it time to quit now? And I'm just like, what? Because now I was really bitten. Now I was, whoa, this was really the thing. And then 2 years later, we had this professor. He was the headmaster of the Olympic Academy. So he is the one in charge of producing all our Olympic winter athletes for many years. And he also turned out to be among the first 4 river kayakers ever in Norway.
Oh, wow.
And he did his research and professor degree on research on high sensation seekers, which of course all the skydivers fall into that category.
Sure.
And at that time, I was at the National Drop Zone. I was just reading a newspaper article with his findings, and it was like a list of 9 different things. Like you drive fast in cars, you're active in multiple sports, you oppose authorities, you experiment with drugs, you party hard, you of course push boundaries and limits. You have a lot of spice on your food. You listen to music while you read, and yeah, one more. Sure. But I remember reading that list, and suddenly I see, oh fuck, that's me.
That's pretty funny.
And accidentally, the same year, this professor was hired to have a seminar in America when the ESSO, the big ESSO chain, had a big conference in the United States. And we were also running a ESSO gas station. And then my father was there, and he was listening to this professor, and he comes home and I said, now I see you.
It's funny.
That was really a turning point. And that was where the InHop project started, really.
You know, it's funny too, because I've gone through a couple of times in my career. You look back and you try and gauge where you fall, and you know the normal skydiver attributes and stuff, and it's pretty much the same thing. I hate to be put in a box, but we kind of all fit in this box. Yeah, we really kind of do. You know, I mean, I've gone down that same list before, and you're like, shit, I guess that's me. Yeah. Oh well. So did your dad?
Interesting enough, because this, I from then on, I kind of started to incorporate it in different stuff I was doing, business-wise and also skydiving-wise. And I saw it was very, very true. But usually people don't fulfill all the 9. They don't check all the 9 boxes. Usually people 6 or 7 of them. And then you have a few people that do tick off all the boxes. And for sure, you find a lot of them in base jumpers, for instance.
Yes, without a doubt. There's 1 or 2 of those out your way.
Yeah.
So when your father kind of recognized all these traits in you and that they matched up with skydiving, did that change his opinion of your being a jumper, like actively pursuing it?
Yeah, I think at that point he accepted it in a different way than before.
That's kind of the best way to put it, right? People just accept that this is what we do.
Yeah, yeah.
It's, oh, well, shit, I guess this person's a skydiver. So how did you start to transition into going from somebody that just was jumping into not just being a skydiver, but being as in the industry as you are?
All of this, I think, have to do with humans and personalities. And really, it started back there first with my interest of these things in the army, with the interpersonal stuff. Then I get this finding from the professor. And then I remember very well because Voss, did you ever go to Skydive Voss?
I haven't been yet, but now that I'm in this neighborhood, I absolutely will be.
Yeah, it's really a beautiful drop zone, but it also has challenges because we're a small village between mountains, meaning that, for instance, the noise of the airplane will be bothering a lot of people.
Sure.
And because we're in a village with about 14,000 people, that's big enough that everybody kind of know everybody, and small enough that you have some kind of you can be yourself.
Sure, sure.
But because of my upbringing, I was very respectful to my, let's call it, local community. So I became the leader of the club 2 years after I started, when I really got hooked. And one of my missions was to get accepted by the locals for the noise we bother them with.
Sure.
And one of the things I started to notice, even in our very, very small little club, at that point we were maybe 20 people or something like that. But when I looked at these 20 people, they were all like, wow, there was a doctor, there was a dentist, there was a lawyer, there was like highly educated people, but then
Sure.
also road workers and I would say people without education. And that was the first time I noticed this thing very, very true in skydiving. It doesn't really matter who you are. It matters how dedicated you are to the sport.
Sure.
How many jumps do you have? And then in the background of those number of jumps, then you find all the personalities. And after I started to go into this deeper, I found that every single one, 100% of the skydivers, I'm sure you too, if I got to know you, you would have, well, already you told me, but everyone has a pretty amazing story. Some choice, some talents, some merits, something very particular.
Yes.
And I have found it to be absolutely true for every single one. Every one I've tested out and sit and talk deeper into, I will find this.
Sure.
And that's very strange.
It's one of my favorite things about the sport. I mean, especially since I started doing the podcast, I've had on people that I've known, I thought relatively well for some time, but I knew them, of course, as skydivers. And then I'd get to talking to them on the podcast and ask about their wider life outside of and in skydiving. And I've literally picked myself up off the floor a dozen times finding out that the goofy person that was, just literally going ape shit over every jump is a PhD doing these amazing things, or that this really soft-spoken, mild-mannered guy is actually a hardcore police officer. And you're like, whoa.
Yeah.
And it really is
so
amazing because we kind of check all that at the door when we show up on the drop zone.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is nice.
Yeah.
Well, especially in a community as small as you were in, you must have loved watching it grow as it has, because I mean, you're saying Voss used to be just a very small little club, and now Voss hosts Extreme Week.
Yeah. Yes.
I mean, that's a big deal.
Yeah, it was in the 90s. It was really incredible because when I attended the course, they also decided this was the last course. Now they want to shut down. Then me and my friend started, and we got so bitten, so we then were able to take over. already the next year. And then after getting bitten, going to the land for the first boogies abroad, and going to the national drop zone at Østre Æra in Norway, suddenly my horizon expands within the skydiving, and we had some, I think the very first, like a bad spot, outlanding.
Sure.
That happened sometime in the, I don't know, beginning of the 90s, and I just realized how fun that was, a challenge. And I didn't really think about it anymore then. That was just many years later this came back. But we slowly started to do jumps outside the drop zone, like down at the lake in Voss, and we had a beach boogie. I think that was in '91. Then we had this tradition in Voss, eating sheep heads. And that's something that they start on the first week of September, which is also the season ending of the Norwegian skydiving at that point.
Sure.
So that was always like a boogie that ended the skydiving season in Norway, and people came with suits and dresses and no rig. So that's kind of also where the club slowly started to grow. Then I came into the national team in '94 to '96, and in '96 I was also in charge of running the activities on the national drop zone. That was the first time we any drop zone in Norway did more than 10,000 jumps in a season.
Wow. I mean, you jumped in head first. I mean, you went from 0 to 100 like right off the bat.
Yeah.
So the hardware store was a faint memory very quickly.
Yeah, that year, Philippe Vallot, you maybe know.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we had him and Mad Dog over as organizers at Østre Æra, and I was jumping out with this sign saying 10,000. And he believed that was my 10,000 jumps, while it was the first time we did 10,000 jumps in. But he was so impressed because I was so young.
Sure.
And then his English wasn't that good, so we didn't clear that mistake until like long time after.
So he thought you were a rock star for the longest time.
Something like that, yeah.
So what was it like, especially starting in a small place like Voss, the first time you went to a drop zone like DeLand? It must have been a bit of a shock.
It was really to see that the community was as big as it was and diversified, and especially to experience the US thing,
Sure.
where suddenly the skydiving was a huge thing, big business, a lot of people, a lot of activities, big planes. And then again, and I didn't think about it then, but I later thought about it, that same thing about all these individuals doing this sport, amazing people. On every single skydiving trip we ever went to, we always met some incredible people.
Sure.
Well,
that's one of the coolest things about it, right? Is it's a community that builds itself, because you've got people that come from so many different backgrounds with such incredible skills, and they all fall in love with skydiving. So when something goes wrong, there's somebody there that can fix everything. There's somebody there that can organize everything. There's a PhD or a carpenter or a plumber somewhere on the drop zone always.
Yes.
Which is fantastic.
Yeah. And that's kind of also where the big thing when Skydive Voss then started to develop. And I would say the main thing happened so after that year on Østre Æra, so in 1997, we organized our club. At that point, we were up to 35 members. And then we did the 31. We had 7 4-way teams on the nationals. We had 3 8-way teams. We had 15 or 20 people participating in the accuracy competition. And then we set the Norwegian club record of 31 people. And that stood for, I think it was 14 years before another club took it.
That's amazing.
And that's also when we start to get a bit noticed, and people start to get noticed about Voss. And in Voss, until that point, we only had a small little barrack, like one little barrack. And then I think it was in 97, 98, then there's someone called Egelby who was working very hard, and he got to buy the whole series of barracks from a waterfall company. Very cheap. I think maybe we even got them.
Wow.
Then I went and took a personal mortgage in the bank, which we couldn't do because this was partly financed by the state to build this because it's an athletic sport.
Sure.
But then we managed to get the bank to join in. That we had 30 what's it called, bailers, like if you don't, somebody that bail you out.
Sure.
So we made this thing with the clubs. We had 30 equal responsibilities in a way, and the bank joined in for that. And that was then the start of the let's say when the Extreme Week started.
Well, and that too would have been about the same time that it was videos of skydiving, and granted it's all pre-social media, but that's when the VHS tapes were going around and you were seeing these amazing places. So guys like me, that are sitting in Paris Valley, California, are all of a sudden watching you guys in free fall over these stunning mountains with these incredible views, going, where in the fucking hell is that, and why am I not jumping there?
Yeah. Yeah.
You must have seen a huge influx of people coming from all around the world as soon as it started to get known how beautiful that place is.
Yeah, and for sure that was really I was very surprised myself because Voss, it's close to Bergen, so we're west in Norway, and it rains, like Bergen has 300 days of rain a year.
Wow. Oh, wow.
So Voss is only 100 kilometers east of Bergen. So we should also expect that we have almost equal amount of rain. And then when I was running the national drop zone, I was just kind of registering weather. So I categorized it into good weather day, medium weather day, or bad weather day. And a good weather day, you would be able to jump all day. A medium, you would be able to jump half day, and bad weather day, maybe one test jump or something. And then to my surprise, like counting 60 days during summer, Voss had like way more good weather days and way less bad weather days than Østre Æra, which is situated in the east of Norway. And how could that be? And sometimes when we took the plane up, it could be cloud covering all over the west of Norway, and then you have one hole, and that was over Voss. And that's when I noticed that, okay, the location of Voss is actually pretty amazing, and it is because of the mountains. So weather stops on the mountains, either coming from west or coming from east. And usually then Voss is just at that line. And which also because of the mountains we are surrounded with, we can still kind of jump, even though if we have cloud cover, because the clouds usually is on top of the mountains, and then we still have 5,000 feet.
Which is, I mean, especially for a lot of the stuff that Voss has become known for, is perfect.
Yeah, yeah.
So obviously you watched it start to grow and you watched it get more popular, and about the time Extreme Week started, but now Voss is a name that I don't think any skydiver doesn't know, which for such a small town in Norway is pretty amazing. I mean, especially with the meteoric rise of base jumping and wingsuiting and everything. Everybody knows Norway, everybody knows Voss, and pretty much everybody knows Extreme Week. When did you realize, holy shit, this is something?
Well, the interesting thing is that so I was the founder, the skydiving founder of the Extreme Week, and the guy in the rafting company, he was the other one. So it was kind of the two of us that were discussing. They were going to have some kind of rafting competition, and we were going to have a boogie, so we put it on the same week. Also the same week when I was going to have army training, actually. And I remember very well that my kind of idea in the start of the Extreme Week was exactly this professor. When he listed up these things regarding extreme sport people, then I could recognize some of this in the other kind of extreme sports. So my ambition at that point was for skydivers, one, to land outside on spectacular places and make concerts out in nature.
Mm.
But more important was to get skydivers to do paragliding and paragliders to do river rafting and river rafters to do skydiving,
Sure.
intermingle. And when we started it, we had like 4 founding clubs. That was a paraglider and a river kayak and rafting and skydiving. And then we had 2 extra, which was base jumping and skating.
Mm.
But they were not organized in clubs in any way, so they were not part as the other clubs.
Sure.
And then I was very proud on the economy and how we made it. So nobody earns money on this, but all the money gets plowed back into the clubs.
Sure.
And then then we did the first Extreme Week, and next year we suddenly get this sponsor, and now we are called Pepsi Max Week. That was like, this is wrong, because now we're starting to run after the money. So we said, thank you, no. We want to go back to the real stuff. And then I think we had 1 year without sponsor, and then the sponsor just tripled and quadrupled, and
sure,
really developed.
Well, the community must have absolutely loved it too, because I mean, not only are you going out of your way to try and make sure that you're respectful to the community, but now you're kind of putting them on the map and bringing people to Voss that would never have otherwise gone.
Yeah, that's very true. We did. I saw very quick, actually, that this idea of mingling the people did not work. So I remember being at the drop zone. Yeah, it was actually this big, there was like a big football match where Norway beat Brazil or something in soccer. And then at the drop zone, I could just see 6 different groups of people. So over there was one group, and those were the rafters. And over there was one group, and those were the kayakers. And over there were the paragliders. So we didn't mingle.
Sure.
And also I realized that, well, of course, because let's say the skydivers, suddenly you come to Voss and now you meet your friends that you didn't see for maybe a year. So of course you want to stay with them.
For
so
sure.
That part kind of didn't work. But instead this festival thing started to build on the side with concerts. And at that point, that was when we found this circus tent. And we put that up down by the lake, and that became kind of the big central for the Extreme Week.
Sure.
And
well, that's where you'd get all the groups to mingle, right? Is once the party starts.
Yes, exactly.
Then you'll mingle. Oh, you're a skydiver. Oh, cool. You're a kayaker. Yeah, because a little lubrication, everybody gets a little loose. Nobody's diving directly into their sport. They're just having fun.
Yeah. And you can also probably see that little thing that when you go back to the professor naming these qualities that describes the extreme sport people, there's still some kind of a ladder. And that was very obvious when we got them all together. So on the bottom, the calm is of course the rafters and the bikers, and then kind of it goes up as the risk goes up.
Yeah.
The risk and the consequences and the risk assessment. So the base jumpers, of course, they are the kings.
Yeah. You know who's
the
going
base jumpers? They had all the what's it called, the latest technologies like videos and.
You definitely know who is going to be the last at the party.
Yes.
Without a doubt.
The cool thing, though, was that when we introduced the video of the day, which then became the big center point in the whole circus tent, then suddenly we realized that we tough skydivers stand there and we just go mind blown watching the river kayakers doing their stuff.
Sure.
We got so much respect for the other people's sports that we didn't have before this. And that was kind of what really united us in the Extreme Week and made us really go together and grow as one big unit.
I can imagine. I mean, personally, I'm a huge fan of big wave surfing, and I can't surf for shit. But I'm an incredible fan of it because I can put myself into that mindset. Even if I've never been there, I can imagine where they're at, so to speak. And I have just an incredible amount of respect for the kind of stuff that they do. The same thing with the kayakers, the same thing with the guys that are, although it's a cousin sport, the acrobatic paragliders, the stuff that they're doing. And I've never done that either, but I can really appreciate the mindset that goes into it, which is the impressive part to me.
Yeah.
Nope, I think you froze up there a little bit. There we go.
Okay.
So you've got to, I mean, you helped start out Extreme Week, you helped put Voss on the map, but now we're talking a bunch of years later where, like I said, Voss is, everybody knows it. Everybody knows that Extreme Week is coming up. I know dozens of people that have been there and all the events that go on there. So is it just we're doing the same thing each year, or are you changing things up and always looking for new things to add?
Yeah, that's also kind of a big idea of the Extreme Week, is just to get people on a very high level to come and play together.
Sure.
And then see what comes out of it. And it has proven to be right every year. Every year there comes some kind of a new stunt that has never been done before, or some new combination, or some new angle, or whatever. And that's really the beauty. That's how it should be also.
Sure.
And I would say that, again, if we go back to this very start in the 90s, when I was very concerned about the noise, for instance, in the local village, then I was, of course, very engaged in the local, let's call it business life, because I was running this hardware store. And the whole thing with the Extreme Week was that it changed Voss completely. And it was also to do with timing, because the same years we were doing this, they also started to redevelop the mountain, the ski resort. And they built another ski resort on the most snow secure place in Norway. So all of this was happening at the same time. And Voss has always been like a tourist village. What we now did was to change the whole tourism scene into people staying there, spending nights there, spending maybe a week there, and leaving a lot of money.
Sure.
Or the whole business side of Voss was controlled by the two big hotels, and they were competing. So whenever one of the hotels suggested something, the other one was against. Now, through the Extreme Week and the in-hops, actually, we managed to get the richest guy in Norway on board to develop Voss. So in 2006, then I established this company called Destination Voss, which was kind of, the whole message was that let's stop fighting, let's work together to get money in, and then we can start to compete.
Sure.
And the whole idea was founded on a model of finance that was like the contribution from, let's say, one business would maybe only be $30 or $100 a year. Very, very low. But then you gathered that money, and then you took that sum of money and you went to the county and you said, hey, we have this kind of money, we want to market Voss, will you come with an equal amount? So then the amount doubled. And then we together went to the next level, and then we doubled that money again and went to the next level and doubled that money. So suddenly we had 8 times our deposits that we got back in value. And then the whole idea of Destination was that no one was excluded. Everyone should be allowed to join. And suddenly these two hotels, they lost their controlling power of the development in a way. And they, even though they were kind of rich in Voss, they were nothing compared to the rich guy. And then I'm out talking to all the farmers that are, of course, afraid of this investor coming in from Oslo. Now he's going to take all our money, and instead trying to transform it that, hey, if you're running this farm, you should capitalize on it. Because people coming from city, they would love to come to a farm doing actually farm work or something.
Yeah.
You can just be yourself and be proud of it. And the money that the investor takes out, yeah, for sure. But before he takes out that money, we have a lot of money coming in that we divide between us. So don't be scared, kind of.
Sure.
And on that, we had like a big hallelujah meeting when we launched it, and we had like 100% signing up. It has never happened before in our village.
That's awesome.
And this was what founded the wind tunnel. This is how the wind tunnel came about.
Which is another crazy thing, right? I mean, you would never expect that there'd be a wind tunnel in such a small, out of the way place.
exactly.
So fantastic. So now,
And then just after the wind tunnel, I think when 2000, I stepped in again as manager of Skydive Voss in 2012, and I think maybe 2013 we became the biggest club in Norway, no matter what kind of air sport, no matter what, paragliding or airplanes or anything that had to do with air. Then little Skydive Voss became the biggest in all of Norway. That was like incredible.
absolutely.
And then we came into that position that you just described with now you suddenly possess all these, whatever you need. There's somebody in that club that has these skills or contacts or connections or whatever. And Andreas, the one that took over after me as manager, he has done incredible well doing exactly that.
I mean,
using
yeah.
the members to develop the club.
Well, and I mean, the members absolutely love giving back because it gives them ownership of the place. I mean, it really puts their heart and soul into it. Besides just being something that they enjoy doing, now they feel like it's theirs as well, which is how it should be.
Yeah.
So now, besides just Voss, though, you do stuff all over the place. You've got events, I mean, that aren't necessarily nestled in mountains with snow. You're doing it on sandy beaches as well.
Yeah, and of course that was also a long story.
Yeah, please.
I got permanently banned from skydiving in Norway in 2016.
All right, you got to fill me in on that.
So it's really a long story, but it's kind of interesting too, because this starts way back in the Extreme Week start. As I told you, I was then a captain in the army. Then I was the chief instructor and safety advisor for Skydive Voss and Skydive Bergen and Skydive Førde. And then I was the chairman of the Extreme Week. And at some point, I think around the year 2000 or something, then the drug squad in the army started to focus on the extreme sport.
Mm.
And suddenly, every year we had the Extreme Week, suddenly you have all these cops coming around. They're trying to hide themselves and be civilians looking for drugs.
Sure.
And of course, drugs were something you do see in the skydiving scene.
Sure.
But it's also a place where it's not really a problem.
Sure.
And in 2003, there was we had a trip to Spain, a club trip. And then coming home from that, I was going straight into my army rehearsal. And then on the army rehearsal, I get like, they come with a police squad, like they're going to make a demonstration on how to do a raid during the army trainings.
Okay.
But it turned out that the whole thing was just a setup to get me.
Oh, my Lord.
And it turned out that that year we had a four-way team going to the nationals. Among other, there were Kari Traa, she's like an Olympic medalist in freestyle. And another guy that later was the manager of the wind tunnel. And then there came a fourth guy that we didn't really know, and he was really eager to get into the team. And I was sure that was because he was so in love with Kari. And later it turns out that he's like a planted agent from the drug squad in Norway, and they have sent him to basic camp in the land to be good enough to become on my team. They have invested, you have no idea.
Holy shit.
They've been staking me out for like 3 years, tapping my phone, being around my house. It's like,
holy
what the
shit.
And then when I then came home from the trip in Spain, this informant could then inform that I had a stopover in Amsterdam where I had smoked weed on a coffee shop. So then when I came home, they knew this. And of course, when I have to pee, it will turn out on my pee.
Sure.
And there's a zero tolerance in the army, so I had to leave my job.
Oh, I mean,
after that, every fucking single time I arrive Norway, I get stripped, searched. One time I had to strip naked and shit in front of grown-up people. It's so humiliating.
Yeah, it would be.
And still, this is now 2023, and it's just a week ago we came back to Norway, and the same thing every time for 20 years.
Ay, ay, ay. Dude. Ay. That's
And
pretty intense.
Yeah, and I remember when this happened at that time, I was like totally destroyed. Of course, I had a total breakdown because this happened, and then I had opened a new hardware store, and one of the employees had been stealing so much. So at the same time as this army thing is going on, the whole business collapses,
Oh,
and I have to close down that new business I opened, and it almost took the whole family business for 150 years with.
wow.
So all of this is kind of happening on the same time. And that's kind of when I broke down. And then instead of, I would say, bending over, that's when I started the in-hop. So in
Nice.
2005, we had the first 16-way in-hop experience with group Daryl Moran coming from UK and Larry Henderson and Kate Cooper. And that was in 2005. And then in 2006, I developed that onto the Destination Voss, where I had this family thing with the richest guy. We made
Sure.
an event for them that made them come and invest. That ended up with a wind tunnel. So that was all the background for this.
Sure.
And then, of course, I think the real thing is just a good old power game, because all the skydiving have been controlled by Oslo in Norway. And at one time, I remember there was a death in Stavanger, which is another club, and they just grounded the club until they were done with a report. And this was just a total ordinary hook turn death, just a low turn, and he died.
Sure.
And then a full thing. And then Oslo themselves, that at that time were running the national drop zone, they lost a jumper and they didn't even know. So only in the evening, when the cleaning lady comes there and she asks, whose bag is this? But then it suddenly appears that, hey, we're missing a jumper. And then they take off the Antonov, drunken pilots, drunken skydivers, and they crash the plane when they land. And they find the girl. She is dead, bounced in the woods.
Sure.
But there were no consequences. And that's the first time I really noticed that difference between East and West. And of course, when we then start with the extreme week, we are kind of taking the power. And of course, whenever we do something, and let's say somebody have a malfunction, then the rumor will very quickly go over the mountain.
Sure.
But it doesn't go rumors when everything goes well. It's only rumors when everything not goes well.
Of course, of course.
So then after we had a member who jumped out with a base rig from plane. I was in Portugal at the time, but I was chief instructor and responsible, so I grounded him from there. And then by the time I came home, they had grounded the whole club again.
Aye.
What the fuck? And this was kind of the first. This was also around 2000. And then I noticed that year in 2003, when all this shit happened in the army and I had to close down the store, that's the first year since I started skydiving that I pulled out of all my engagements. This year, during the extreme week, the anti-doping Norway comes with blessings from the Skydiving Federation, and they take all the tandem instructors and then me, like for a P test.
Right.
And that's also when I found out, what the fuck is going on here? This is not the Federation's task.
Sure.
To be a drug police or something. Of course, we need to keep drugs is illegal. We need to keep it off the drop zone. We need to keep it out of the skydiving. We can't have any people intoxicated while jumping.
Of course.
I mean, all this goes without saying. But when you then see that there is actually this much use of different substances in the skydiving community, we have to deal with it in another way.
Sure.
And what I observed every year was that there was somebody that got excluded. then you have like a big thing, a big committee or something going against this one poor bastard. And then they get kicked out and nobody hears from him again.
Sure.
But then when you look at the skydivers and the personalities within, then you will notice that on one side you have the very successful people, like I talked about, the doctors and lawyers and all this. They use skydiving as like a supplement to enrich their otherwise very good life.
Sure.
On the other side, you have the feelings the people that comes with emotions, but they're not really necessarily successful. They use skydiving as a substitute because of some traumas. They can
Sure.
have been raped or have some death or some tragedy or something, bankruptcy, whatever. And then they come into this really intense sport and they get relief.
Sure.
And when I started to look at this closer, I saw that all these conflicts, all these bannings, they were always on people that you would then put on the emotional side. They're in the skydiving for the feeling of it, not the rational.
Sure.
And usually it always started with only a conflict between two persons. And then you get all the hype and all the conflicts. And I'm sure you also noticed all the conflicts in all the drop zone in the world.
Oh, of course. Absolutely. Absolutely. There's always politics, sadly.
Yeah. We're very strong individuals. And every time we jump, we kind of confirms ourselves.
Yep.
So we kind of become even stronger egos.
Yeah.
And there's clashes sometimes.
Yeah, definitely part of the sport.
Yeah. But what I did not like was that a lot of these people that then was kind of kicked out, they were troubled. They had a troubled life, and their life improved because of skydiving. And now skydiving kicks them out. And then what's happening is that most of these people go to shit.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
They found a relief, and our community that actually should do the opposite and take care of these people and help them. This is the worst side of skydiving.
No, I completely agree. I really do. And it is sad that when stuff like that happens, although hopefully attitudes are slowly but surely changing.
Yeah.
Hopefully. But I mean, on the positive side of things, being able to have gotten Voss to where it was and done all the things that you've done, and now spreading even to events outside of Norway and some pretty spectacular places, you're also bringing an incredible amount of positive to the sport.
Yeah, thank you.
So tell me about the Seychelles event that's coming up.
Yeah. So after my banning, I then left Norway and went to Namibia. After suggestion from a friend, and that's where I had my first jump after the banning, and I was stoked. I really remember just stretching out in free fall and just feeling, oh fuck, nobody is allowed to deny this to somebody this is right for. You understand me? I was so triggered, and it was a fantastic jump, and I had a fantastic toggle hook turn on my landing. Coming right over the clubhouse in Swakopmund in Namibia, and right into the face of the chief instructor. Oh fuck! He stands there with this, and I walk over to him, waiting to get yelled at, and then he says, "Do you want a job?"
Nice.
And then it turned out that he had also had these thoughts about jumping elsewhere, and it just fell together, and we launched the first Namibia event in the end of August in 2016, and 3 days and it will filled up.
Oh, I bet.
So that was really the start.
Well, I mean, destination boogies are incredibly popular these days. And I mean, the places that have opened up now are insane. Places that I would have never thought you'd be able to jump.
Yeah. Yeah.
How did the Seychelles come about?
So that was a consequence of Namibia again. So after that first event, my wife said, "Okay, enough," and divorced me. And I had another breakdown in my life, and I left Norway, and I gave her the house, so at least they were taken care of. But then I also lost everything I owned, because all my mortgages were connected to the security in the house.
Sure.
So now I lost my family business. I had 5 businesses at the time. So all of this went down the drain. And then I kind of had to restart my life in Namibia. And it was actually Patrick Pass that gave me a possibility to speak on one of the sequential games we did.
Mm.
And that came on with Kate Cooper coming on for the next Namibia event. And that's kind of how I raised myself again. And then Antonis Loiseau, Cypriotic friend, skydiver, he got me into the adventure boogie in Slovenia. So that became suddenly the place I ended up. And then I started the AFF school there, and then we did some Slovenia in-hop event, and then back to Namibia. And on one of the Namibia events, then we had Francesco Drossi and Gabor Visco and Pedro Ferreira. And Pedro was a very good friend from Angola. He was the one bringing me to Namibia. And he and Francesco decided to open Drop Zone in Seychelles.
Hmm.
I had to go back to Norway because I had a spider bite I need to check out. So I stopped in Seychelles for 4 days on the way back. And that's when Seychelles started.
Nice.
But then COVID hit. We had signed the fully signed up event, and we were ready to go, and we got the confirmation, and everybody transferred their money, and then COVID came. And everything was put on hold for another 1.5 years.
Yep.
And then at the end of the COVID, we first did the Iceland in-hop event, and then we went back and we did the first Seychelles event, and this was also not working because during the COVID time we lost our plane. So suddenly we are coming up with an event of the COVID with very hard economy and without a plane. And this is when we approached the army in Seychelles and offered if we can have their plane, we will offer to train their first paratroopers.
Nice.
So that was a very nice trade-off that is really beneficial also for them, because when you imagine Seychelles is a country of 115 islands, and their challenges are pirates, fishing and smuggling drugs.
Sure.
But it's very, very hard. So for instance, we had pirates stranded on one of the outer islands. Now, was it a year ago? The alarm goes, the Navy goes out, but they of course use 20 hours to get there. So by the time they get there, they're gone.
Sure.
Now with the paratroopers, they will be able to reach any of the islands within an hour or so. So after the first testing year with the army, it was all hanging in, let's say, very loose verbal agreements, nothing you can rely on at all.
Sure.
And then we finished off with doing a demo on the Army Celebration Day, like a year ago. The boys only had like 70 jumps, and there were 24 knots of side wind. And they just did amazing.
That's fantastic.
Then the whole thing got kind of anchored and safe. So now
Sure.
we're starting up with the second class, I suppose, in January, and we'll continue the collaboration. And this is also what gives this amazing opportunity for the trip coming up. So as part of the training for the paratroopers, they also now need to jump on all of these different islands. They've now spent 2 years of ground training and just to be able to handle their free fall and canopy piloting. And then we have explored some islands in the previous in-hops. Now, finally, we are starting to move out to the really exotic and exciting islands, the outer islands.
Yeah.
And, you know, to fly, and it's just ocean, and down there you see only one island, and that's all you see in all your visual perimeter. So, like just now, we in October, we did this bird boogie. And Bird Island is the very northernmost of the Seychelles Islands.
Mm.
And at that point, the wind was blowing from south to the north, so it's blowing you up towards Somalia. And because of the spotting, I was hanging on the northern side, so I had headwind against me, and I don't know how strong it was. But that feeling to be over the ocean at that very jump, and then I was landing right at the very, very tip, you know, just when the sand and the water comes. You know, it's just something you can't describe it. You can't.
No.
It's just a fantastic feeling when you're hanging under that canopy and you really feel the world.
Oh, yeah. Well, and especially in such an epic place. I mean, I was lucky enough to do a season of jumping in Fiji, and it was similar in that, we did a couple of jumps on outer islands, and even on the main island, you're still just scatterings of islands all over the place, and pretty tight window for how you have to fly and to get to the beach. And of course, doing tandems, you never know how big or small the passengers are going to be. And it's one of the most clear in the moment occasions I've ever had is hanging under canopy over Fiji going, holy shit, this is ridiculous.
Oh yeah, I can feel you on that one.
Yeah, it's just spectacular. I mean, you must be super excited, especially because this is coming up pretty soon, yeah?
Yeah. And just yesterday we got the last sign-up, so now the event is confirmed. We needed 6 minimum to get it going, and we got to number 6 yesterday.
Awesome.
We want to get to 24, so right now we have 18 more slots.
Awesome. Well, hopefully this will help to get it filled out. I mean, I've seen such spectacular photo and video coming out of the Seychelles with the stuff that you guys have done. It's just jaw-dropping how absolutely stunningly beautiful it is. On a side note, Seychelles is where I got married, so I know how pretty it is. Yeah, it's stunningly beautiful.
And the incredible nature.
Yes.
And that's, of course, a very big part of all the in-hop trips is to connect the local, whatever it is. So in Namibia, of course, that's deserts, wild animals, natives, poor people. In Seychelles, it's rich people.
Yep.
But you have a stunning nature, and these plants and fishes and birds, at least, they don't exist anywhere else.
Yeah, no, it's absolutely spectacular. Now, for people that are listening that want to grab one of the slots that's still available, how do they find out about the event? What's the social media that they can go to? Where can they book?
So I would say inhop.com, www.inhop.com with double N and double P.
Okay.
For English-speaking people.
Yeah, you need to clarify.
Norwegian way of spelling it.
And when is the event?
It's April 10 to 16.
10th to the 16th. So it's a good event. And this is, you're jumping on all a variety of the outer islands, kind of pioneering these different areas.
Yeah, it's kind of divided into two. The first part is more, then we'll jump at more familiar locations, and it's an opportunity for everyone to check out themselves for their target practice and confidence. And then the second half, we're going to all new islands that have never been jumped before.
That's spectacular.
I can't. Look at Poivre and Ile de Sud, you'll see the climax on that trip.
I can't wait to see the pictures and the video that I know are going to come out of this. I mean, again, I've already been blown away with the stuff that I've seen beforehand, but especially jumping unjumped islands and sand that's never touched nylon is going to be pretty spectacular.
It's fantastic. Yeah.
I'll tell you, Evan, I cannot thank you enough for taking the time to sit down and tell me some stories. I know there are so many more I'm going to be able to dig out of you. So there's going to be a round 2 down the road for sure. We got to talk again. And I want to talk after the event as well, so I can hear the stories about opening up those islands and what's to come next. So again, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Take care now.
All right. See you in the sky.
Well, there you have it. Another episode of the Lunatic Fringe podcast, brought to you as always by, well, wait, not as always, actually. Brought to you now by Gyro. Formerly known as NZ Aerosports, you'll head to gyro.com for their next level line of canopies. By Pussfoot, the Extreme Sports Collective. Head over to pussfoot.com to check it out. By Summit Parachute Systems, check out summitparachutesystems.com to talk to Jarrett Martin and the gang about kick-ass pilot rigs, rigging courses, and more. By Flyaway Indoor Skydiving, go to flyawaytn.com and check out all the cutting-edge stuff to come. By Pure Spectrum CBD, head to purespectrumcbd.com to check out their wide range of CBD products. And as for us, head to the lunaticfringepodcast.com to listen to any of the hundreds of episodes currently available, hit the link for our YouTube channel, pick up your copy of the Lunatic Fringe book or The Accidental Stripper, and get a sneak peek at upcoming guests. Once again, thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.
Damn.